I should have known something was wrong when Diane insisted on the vasectomy. We're both past the age where accidents happen. I'm 67, she's 59, and we'd only ever had the one child. But she kept on about it, gentle-like, the way you'd coax a spooked horse into a trailer. "Just peace of mind, Merle," she'd say. "At our age, why take chances?" So I went. Dr. Randall Kemp came recommended. Had that new clinic on the edge of town, all glass and steel, the kind of place that makes you wipe your boots 3 times before going in. The waiting room smelled like bleach trying to cover something else. I lay on that cold steel table, paper gown crackling every time I breathed, and let them put me under. That's when I heard it. "Give his wife this envelope. Don't let him see it." Dr. Kemp's voice, low and careful. I couldn't move, couldn't open my eyes. The anesthesia had me pinned like a butterfly in a display case. Through my half-closed lids, I watched Diane in the waiting room doorway. The nurse handed her a manila envelope. Diane opened it, read whatever was inside, and smiled. Not surprise, not concern, satisfaction. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, but I could plan. The drive home, Diane kept her phone in her lap. That wasn't like her. 38 years of marriage. I knew her habits. Phone always went in her purse, tucked in the side pocket where she could hear it but not see it. Today, she held it like it might run off. "You feeling okay?" she asked, eyes on the road. "Sore. They said that's normal. Dr. Kemp seems very competent." The way she said his name, soft around the edges, familiar. I watched the winter fields roll past, brown stubble poking through yesterday's snow. The heater in her Camry rattled, pushing warm air that smelled like her vanilla air freshener and something else. New perfume, maybe, something I hadn't bought her. At home, she helped me to the couch, brought me water and pain pills, fluffed the cushions behind my back. All the right motions. But her phone buzzed twice, and both times she glanced at it before she looked at me. "I should let you rest," she said, and disappeared into the kitchen. I heard her voice through the wall, low and quick, couldn't make out words, just tone. The tone you use when you don't want to be overheard. Outside, the wind picked up, whistling through the gaps in the barn, sighting the way it had since my father's time. I'd been meaning to fix that, add it to the list of things I'd been meaning to do, the list that kept getting longer while I got older. My phone sat on the coffee table. I picked it up, pulled up the bank app, checked our joint account the way I did every few weeks. Just habit. The balance looked wrong. I refreshed it. Still wrong. $40,000 lighter than it should be. I refreshed it again, like the numbers might change if I asked them polite enough. They didn't. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen. Diane hummed something I didn't recognize. Through the window, I could see the south field where I'd planted winter wheat in October. The shoots would be down there under the snow, waiting for spring, doing the quiet work of staying alive. I closed the bank app, opened my text messages, scrolled to my son Trent's name, started typing, "Need to talk to you about," deleted it. Trent lived 2 hours south, sold crop insurance for one of the big ag corporations. Hadn't been home in 3 years, not since the argument about selling the farm. "Dad, you're killing yourself for dirt," he'd said. "There's no money in family farms anymore." Maybe he was right. Maybe that's what Diane thought too. I heard her laugh in the kitchen, quiet but real, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in months. My chest ached, and it had nothing to do with the surgery. 3 days later, I drove into town for the follow-up appointment. December had turned mean, the kind of cold that makes metal burn your bare hands. The truck's engine block heater had been running since 4 a.m., diesel smelled thick in the garage when I started her up. Dr. Kemp's clinic sat at the edge of Main Street, all sharp angles and tinted glass. Inside, that same bleach smell, same leather chairs in the waiting room. The receptionist smiled like she'd been trained to. "Mr. Garrison, Dr. Kemp will see you in just a moment." I sat, picked up a magazine about farm equipment I couldn't afford, set it back down. The door to the back offices opened. Nurse Torres stood there, clipboard in hand. When she saw me, something flickered across her face. Not quite fear, more like guilt. "Mr. Garrison, this way." I followed her down the hallway, past Dr. Kemp's office. The door was half open, and I glanced in without meaning to. Wall mat behind his desk, the kind with push pins. Red ones. 15, maybe 20 of them, scattered across the county. "A lot of development happening around here," I said. Nurse Torres didn't answer, just opened the exam room door and waited for me to go in. Dr. Kemp showed up 5 minutes later, all smiles and firm handshake. Merle, how are we healing up? Fine, bit sore. That's completely normal. He gestured for me to lie back, did the examination. His hands were soft, no calluses, the hands of a man who'd never run a fence line or rebuilt a carburetor. Everything looks good. You're healing well. That map in your office, I said. What's that for? His hands paused for just a second. Hobby of mine. Tracking property development in the area. Amazing how much the county's changing. Those red pins, those all farms? Some of them. He straightened up, stripped off his gloves. You planning to sell, Merle? I know a few developers who'd be interested in a property like yours. 640 acres, that's prime real estate. Not planning on it. Well, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Never say never. Things change. People's needs change. He made a note on his tablet. I'll see you again in 3 months for a final check. Unless you have any complications, infection, unusual pain, anything like that. What kind of complications? Oh, they're rare. But with any surgery, there's always risk. Bleeding, tissue damage, that sort of thing. That's why we monitor closely. He patted my shoulder. But I'm sure you'll be fine. You're in good hands. After he left, Nurse Torres came back in with discharge papers. Her hands shook slightly as she handed them to me. Ma'am, I said quietly. That envelope? The one you gave my wife? You looked uncomfortable about it. She went very still. I don't know what you mean. I think you do. She glanced at the door, lowered her voice. Mr. Garrison, I need this job. I have 2 kids. I can't. She stopped. Just be careful. That's all I can say. She was out the door before I could ask what she meant. I sat there in that sterile room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees, and felt the first real thread of fear pull tight in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. The pain pills sat on the nightstand untouched. I needed my head clear. Beside me, Diane breathed, steady and deep, the way she always did. 38 years, I'd listened to that sound. 38 years of her hair spread across the pillow, her hands sometimes reaching for mine in the dark. I got up careful, pulled on my jeans and flannel shirt in the bathroom so I wouldn't wake her. The house creaked in the cold, the way old houses do. Downstairs I made coffee in the dark, watching the red light on the pot glow like an eye. The trash can in the kitchen still had yesterday's garbage. I pulled out the bag, set it on the floor, started going through it. Coffee grounds, potato peels, junk mail. Then I found it. An envelope from First Covenant Bank. Foreclosure warning notice. Addressed to both of us. Dated 2 weeks ago, before my surgery. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Garrison, this letter serves as formal notice that your mortgage payment is 3 months past due. Total amount owed, 47 theirs. If payment is not received by March 15, 2025, foreclosure proceedings will begin. 3 months. I'd been paying that mortgage the first of every month for 40 years, same as clockwork. Except I hadn't been. Someone had stopped the payments, someone with access to our joint account. The coffee pot beeped. I poured a cup, hands steady, and read the letter again. March 15th. That gave me 90 days. 90 days to lose everything my grandfather built in 1947, everything my father died trying to hold on to, everything I'd poured my life into. I heard footsteps on the stairs, shoved the letter in my jacket pocket, moved to the sink like I was just standing there drinking coffee. Diane appeared in the doorway, wrapped in her bathrobe. Merle, you okay? Couldn't sleep. Didn't mean to wake you. She came closer, put her hand on my back. Her touch felt like ice through my shirt. You're worrying about the farm again. Always do this time of year. Maybe... She paused, smiled, but it looked tired. Maybe we should talk about Trent's idea, about selling. We could retire, move somewhere warm. You could finally rest. I'll rest when I'm dead. She flinched. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. I turned to look at her. Really look at her. The woman I'd married at 29, when she was 21 and working at her father's feed store. She'd smelled like grain dust in summer that day. Now she smelled like expensive perfume I'd never seen a bill for. Diane, where'd the $40,000 go? Her face went blank. What? $40,000. Missing from our account. Merle, I handle the finances. There have been expenses, the new tractor payment, the tractor's paid off. Has been for 2 years. She stepped back. Her hand went to her throat the way it did when she was cornered. "You're checking up on me now? After everything I do to keep this place running while I what? While you pretend it's still 1985 and family farms matter." Her voice cracked. "This place is dying, Merle. We're dying. I'm 59 years old and I'm drowning in debt and dirt, and you won't even consider what? Giving up?" "Growing up." She wrapped her robe tighter. "Dr. Kemp says at your age, stress like this can be dangerous. He says, since when do you discuss our finances with my doctor?" She froze, just for a second, but I saw it. "I don't. I just meant, he mentioned in general that men your age, you're on a first-name basis with him now? What are you accusing me of?" The kitchen light flickered. Outside, the wind had picked up, rattling the windows in their frames. Somewhere in the barn, something metal banged against something else, over and over. I should have fixed that latch months ago. "I'm not accusing you of anything," I said quietly. "I'm asking a question." "The money went to expenses, normal farm expenses. If you don't trust me to manage our household, Merle, then maybe you should do it yourself. Except you can't, can you? Because you can't even remember what day it is half the time." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're getting old. It means maybe Trent is right. Maybe you can't handle this anymore. And maybe someone needs to make the hard decisions because you won't." She left. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the bedroom door closing. Not slamming, that would have been honest. Just closing, soft and final. I stood in the kitchen with the foreclosure notice burning a hole in my pocket and the first light of dawn creeping through the window. The coffee had gone cold in my cup. I pulled out my phone, stared at Huck Brennan's name in my contacts. Huck, who'd been in my unit in Vietnam. Huck, who I'd pulled out of a burning Jeep in '71. Huck, who lived 3 farms over and never asked questions when you showed up at his door at 5 in the morning. I started to dial, stopped, started again. The phone rang twice before his gravel voice answered. "Merle, you okay?" "No," I said. "No, I don't think I am. I'll put the coffee on." Huck's kitchen smelled like bacon grease and old coffee, the good kind that's been sitting on the burner since 4 a.m. He pushed a mug across the table at me, didn't say a word, just waited. That was Huck's way. In the jungle, he'd learned that sometimes silence got you more than questions. "Diane's having an affair," I said. He took a sip of his coffee. "You sure?" Sure enough. I told him about the surgery, the envelope, the smile, the $40,000, the foreclosure notice I'd found in the trash. He listened without interrupting, his weathered hands wrapped around his mug. Through his kitchen window, I could see his cattle in the east pasture, breath steaming in the December cold. When I finished, he was quiet for a long minute. Then, "Remember Da Nang, when Rodriguez got hit?" "Yeah." "You didn't panic. You didn't run. You got low, assessed the situation, called for backup." He met my eyes. "This is the same thing. Different terrain. Same war. I'm 67, Huck. I'm tired. You were 22 in Da Nang and you had dysentery. You were tired then too." He stood up, pulled a file box from the top of his refrigerator. "After Martha died, I started doing claims work for the VA, freelance consulting. You'd be surprised what you learn about people when you dig into their paperwork." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need intel. I know how to get it." He sat back down. "This Dr. Kemp, something about him bothers me. Way you described that map in his office. Farms with red pins. That's not a hobby, Merle. That's targeting." "Targeting what?" "That's what we need to find out." He pulled out a yellow legal pad, started making notes. "I'll run a background check, see what properties he owns, what LLCs he's tied to, if there have been any complaints filed. You work the home front, document everything, bank statements, phone records if you can get them, any paperwork Diane's been hiding." "I can't spy on my own wife." "You're not spying, you're protecting yourself." He looked at me hard. "Navy rule, never leave a man behind. You pulled me out of that Jeep, I'm returning the favor." My throat went tight. "I appreciate it." "Don't appreciate it, just stay sharp." He tapped his pen on the pad. "One more thing, my Linda, she was at the grocery store last week, saw Diane's car parked at Kemp's clinic. 4:30 in the afternoon, clinic closes at 4. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. "You sure?" "Linda don't miss much." He paused. "I'm sorry, Merle." I stood up, the chair scraping on his linoleum floor. "I should get back. Got equipment to check." "Merle." He caught my arm. "Whatever you find, Don't go at them alone. Pride gets men killed. Ask for help. I'm asking now, aren't I? Good. Keep doing it. The drive home, the sky had gone from gray to that yellow-white that meant more snow coming. The radio played something about commodity prices, wheat down, corn steady. I turned it off. At the farm, I went straight to the barn. The tractor needed winterizing, the combine needed tarping, but I wasn't there for that. I was there because the barn was the one place Diane never went. In the northeast corner, behind the old grain augers, my father had built a workbench. 70 years of tools hung on pegboard walls, each one outlined in black marker so you'd know where it went back. I ran my hand over his socket set, still in the same tray where he'd left it the day before his heart attack. The smell of old motor oil and dust, the sound of sparrows nesting in the rafters. I pulled out my phone, started taking pictures of every bank statement I could pull up. The withdrawals started 18 months ago, small at first, 500 here, 1,000 there, then bigger, 5,000, 8,000. Always just under 10,000, I noticed. The reporting threshold. Someone knew what they were doing. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Check your water rights permit. Someone tried to cancel yours. LF, Lydia Fenn, county clerk. I'd known her since she was a kid. Now she was 40-something with a son and a desk job, and apparently eyes everywhere. I texted back, when? Last week. I flagged it as suspicious, but someone with co-owner status can object to renewal. Thought you should know. Co-owner. That meant Diane. The farm was in both our names, had been since we married. Equal partners, I'd always thought. 50-50, except you can't renew water rights in Nebraska without both owners' signatures. And if the renewal didn't go through by March 31st, same spring deadline as everything else, the farm would be worth half what it was. Maybe less. Couldn't grow wheat without irrigation. I sat down on my father's workbench, the wood cold through my jeans, and felt the walls closing in. They weren't just planning to take the farm. They were planning to make sure it was worthless to anyone but them. The follow-up appointment came 3 days before Christmas. I didn't tell Diane I was going, just said I had business in town, took the truck, let the diesel warm up while frost patterns melted on the windshield. Dr. Kemp's waiting room had a small Christmas tree in the corner, fake and perfect. The receptionist wore a Santa hat. Everything felt wrong, like someone had decorated a funeral home and expected you to smile about it. Nurse Torres called me back. Still wouldn't meet my eyes. Blood pressure first, she said, wrapping the cuff around my arm. It squeezed tight, released with a hiss. She frowned at the reading. Little elevated. I'm stressed. About? Life. She made a note on her tablet, led me to the exam room. Dr. Kemp will be right in. But it wasn't just Dr. Kemp who came through the door 5 minutes later. It was Diane, too. Merle. She smiled, but her eyes were worried. I thought I'd come along, make sure you're healing properly. Didn't know you were coming. Dr. Kemp called, said he wanted to discuss some concerns. She took the chair in the corner, crossed her legs. She was wearing the new perfume again, something floral and expensive that didn't smell like her at all. Dr. Kemp closed the door, settled onto his rolling stool. Merle, how have you been feeling? Mentally, I mean. Fine. Any confusion? Memory issues? No. Diane mentioned you've been having some trouble. Forgetting conversations, misplacing things. He tapped his tablet screen. She said you accused her of stealing money from your joint account. I looked at Diane. She looked back, calm and sad. I didn't accuse her of stealing, I said carefully. I asked where $40,000 went. And I explained, Diane said softly. Farm expenses. The same expenses we've had for years, but you didn't remember our conversations about it. I remember fine. Dr. Kemp made a note. Merle, at your age, cognitive decline is nothing to be ashamed of. It's natural. The stress of running a farm, financial pressures, these can accelerate symptoms. Have you considered that you might need help managing day-to-day decisions? The room felt too small. The fluorescent lights buzzed like wasps in a jar. I don't need help. That's often what patients say. He smiled, gentle as a snake. But the fact is, you're 67. You've had a surgical procedure. Your wife is concerned. I'm concerned. These accusations, this paranoia about money, it's not paranoia if it's true. Mr. Garrison, his voice went harder. I'm trying to help you, but I can't do that if you're hostile to the idea that you might need support. Has your son visited recently? No. Perhaps he should. Perhaps someone from your family should be involved in your care decisions going forward. He glanced at Diane. She nodded, just slightly. My hands clenched on the armrests. You called my wife before I got here. You planned this. I called her out of concern. As your physician, when I see signs of confusion or potential dementia, I have an obligation to. I don't have dementia. That's not for you to diagnose. He set down his tablet. I'd like to run some cognitive tests, just basic assessments, memory, reasoning, that sort of thing, for your own protection. No. Merle. Diane leaned forward. Please, let him help. I'm scared for you. You're not yourself lately. The way you've been talking, the accusations. They're not accusations if I can prove them. Her face changed, just for a second. Something cold flickered behind her eyes, then disappeared. No. Prove what, exactly? That you've been withdrawing money for 18 months. That you tried to cancel the water rights permit. That you've been meeting with him. I pointed at Dr. Kemp. After hours when the clinics closed. Silence. The HVAC system hummed. Outside, someone's car alarm went off, then stopped. Dr. Kemp stood up slowly. Mr. Garrison, I think we need to be honest here. You're exhibiting signs of paranoid delusion. This kind of behavior, making wild accusations, conspiracy theories about your wife and your doctor, this is serious. I'm going to recommend a psychiatric evaluation. You're going to recommend what? It's for your own safety, and frankly, for the safety of those around you. Diane, has he been violent? No, she said quickly, then quieter. But he's been angry, more than usual. I'm sitting right here, I said. Stop talking about me like I'm not in the room. Dr. Kemp made another note. I'm documenting all of this. If you refuse treatment, refuse evaluation, that goes in your file. And if something happens, if you hurt yourself or someone else, that documentation will show we tried to help. He looked at me. Do you understand what I'm saying? I understood perfectly. He was building a paper trail, making me look crazy, making it so that anything I said, any evidence I found, could be dismissed as the ravings of a senile old man. I want a copy of my medical records, I said. Of course, we can have those ready in a week. I want them now. That's not how it works. There's a process. Then I'll get a lawyer to request them. Diane stood up. Merle, stop. Just stop. Her voice cracked. Why are you doing this? Why are you so determined to destroy everything? I'm not destroying anything. You are. You're destroying us. She grabbed her purse. Dr. Kemp, I'm sorry. I'll talk to Trent. Maybe he can get through to him. She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Dr. Kemp studied me for a long moment. You're going to lose, you know, the farm, your wife, your family, because you can't accept that you're old and it's time to let go. Maybe, I said, but I'll lose on my feet, not on my knees. That's pride talking, pride and confusion. He opened the door. The offer for help stands, when you're ready to accept it. I sat in my truck in the parking lot for 20 minutes, hands on the wheel, engine running. The heater blasted warm air that smelled like old French fries from the McDonald's bag I'd forgotten under the seat last month. My phone rang. Trent. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. I answered. Dad, Mom called. She's really worried about you. Is she? She said you're having memory problems, that you're accusing her of stealing. Dad, what's going on? Your mother's having an affair. Silence on the other end. Then, Jesus, Dad, do you hear yourself? I hear fine. She's not having an affair. She's taking care of you. She's been taking care of you for 40 years while you've been married to that farm. 640 acres your grandfather cleared, your great-grandfather homesteaded. And it's killing you. Don't you get that? You're 67 years old, you just had surgery, and you're spinning paranoid fantasies because you can't admit it's time to retire. My chest felt tight. You sound like her. Maybe we're both right. His voice softened. Dad, please. Let Mom handle the finances. Let the farm go. Move somewhere you can actually enjoy your life before it's over. The farm is my life. That's the problem, he sighed. Look, I'm coming up this weekend. We need to talk about this. All of us together, like adults. Don't bother. I'm coming anyway, because somebody needs to, before you... He stopped. Before... I what? Before you lose everything you're trying to hold on to. He hung up. I sat there watching shoppers come and go from the pharmacy next door. A woman with 2 kids, An old man with a walker. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that everything could be taken from you by the people you trusted most. My phone buzzed. Text from Huck. Found something. Come by tonight. Bring whiskey. I pulled out of the parking lot, tires crunching on road salt. The sky had gone gray again, heavy with snow that hadn't fallen yet. The kind of sky that made you feel like the world was pressing down, trying to bury you before you were ready. She looked at me like I was already dead. Maybe in her mind, I was. Huck's place looked like Christmas had thrown up on it. His daughter-in-law had been by, he explained, and she didn't believe in subtle decorations. Lights on every surface, a wreath the size of a truck tire on the door. Inside, the smell of wood smoke and coffee. We sat at his kitchen table with a bottle of Jim Beam between us and a stack of papers that looked like they'd come from a legal office. I called in some favors, Huck said. Guy I know works county records. Another one does title searches for a living. He spread out the papers. Dr. Randall Kemp owns 17 properties in this county. 15 of them used to be family farms. I looked at the list, recognized most of the names. The Hendricks place sold 3 years ago after Bill died. The Morrison farm sold 2 years back after Tom's heart attack. The Vickers property just last spring after Janet passed. All of them elderly, I said. All of them widowed or about to be. Huck pulled out another sheet. Here's where it gets interesting. Every single one of these people was treated by Dr. Kemp in the 6 months before they died or sold. The whiskey turned sour in my mouth. You're saying he's killing them? I'm saying there's a pattern. Could be coincidence. Could be he just happens to treat a lot of old farmers. But look at this. He pointed to a medical report. Bill Hendricks died of surgical complications after a routine procedure. Tom Morrison, same thing. Infection following minor surgery. That happens. Sure it does. But 3 in 2 years? All patients of the same doctor? All landowners who just happened to sell their property to Kemp Development LLC right after? He poured himself another finger of whiskey. I pulled the death certificates. Want to guess who signed them? Kemp. His colleague, Dr. Patricia Raines. But she left the practice 18 months ago, moved to Oregon. I tried calling her. She won't talk, but her silence said plenty. I stood up, walked to Huck's window. His field stretched out under the December dark, snow patches glowing faint in the moonlight. Somewhere out there, a coyote yipped. Another answered. They're going to do it to me, I said quietly. Create complications, document my confusion, make it look like I died from natural causes or lost my mind, and Diane inherits everything. That's my read on it. I need proof. We need proof, Huck corrected, and we need help. Lydia Finn's already on board. That text about the water rights. I think we should loop in Pastor Moss. He's known you since you were a kid. He's got credibility. Diane goes to him for counseling every week. Huck raised an eyebrow. Does she now? That night, I went home to an empty house. Diane had left a note on the kitchen table. Staying at Rachel's tonight. Need some space. D. Rachel was her sister in Omaha. 2 hours away. Convenient. I walked through the quiet rooms, hearing every creak and settling sound. The house my grandfather built, the kitchen my father renovated in '73, the bedroom where I'd raised my son. 40 years of my life packed into 1,200 square feet of drywall and memories. In the bedroom, I opened Diane's side of the closet. Her clothes hung neat and organized, the way she'd always kept them. But on the top shelf, pushed to the back, I found a shoebox I'd never seen before. Inside, bank statements for an account I didn't know existed. Withdrawal slips, deposit receipts, all in her name only. $47,000, accumulated over 18 months from our joint account, now sitting in her private Wells Fargo checking. Under the statements, a burner phone, the cheap kind you buy at gas stations. I powered it on. The battery was nearly dead but had enough juice to show me the text history. All to one number, saved as R. R. Can you meet Thursday, after his appointment? D. Yes. Same place? R. My office. We need to finalize the paperwork before March. D. He's getting suspicious. R. Let him. Document everything. His accusations, his anger. We need evidence of instability. What if he goes to a lawyer? R. He won't. He's too proud. And if he does, we'll handle it. Trust me. The dates went back 6 months, dozens of messages, planning, coordinating, documenting my decline. The phone died in my hand. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, closed the closet door, and walked downstairs to the south porch. The cold bit through my flannel shirt, but I didn't go back for a coat. I just stood there, looking out at my fields under the winter stars. In the spring, I was supposed to plant. In the summer, I was supposed to tend. In the fall, I was supposed to harvest. That was the rhythm I'd known my whole life. The rhythm my father knew. The rhythm that went back 3 generations to a man I'd never met but whose name was painted on the side of my barn. I pulled out my phone, looked at my contacts, scrolled past Trent's name. He'd already chosen sides. Past Diane's, she'd made her choice 18 months ago. I stopped at Pastor Eugene Moss. It was nearly midnight, but I called anyway. He answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. "Merle? What's wrong?" "Everything," I said. "Everything's wrong, and I need someone who will believe me." "I'll put the coffee on. Come now." I grabbed my truck keys and my father's old work jacket from the hook by the door. In the pocket, I found his lighter, the Zippo he'd carried in Korea. It still worked. I flicked it once, watched the flame dance, then let it die. "I'm not going down easy," I told the empty house. "You should have known that." Then I walked out into the December night, leaving every light in the house burning behind me. Pastor Eugene Moss lived in the old rectory behind First Covenant Church, a white 2-story that smelled like lemon furniture polish and old books. He met me at the door in his bathrobe and slippers, white hair sticking up on one side. "Come in, coffee's brewing." We sat in his study, surrounded by walls of theology books and framed photos of 50 years of congregations. Through the window, I could see the church cemetery where my parents were buried, their headstones pale gray in the moonlight. I told him everything: the surgery, the envelope, the money, the text messages. He listened without interrupting, hands folded on his desk like he was praying. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. The coffee pot in the corner gurgled and hissed. "Diane came to see me last week," he said finally. "She was crying, said you'd been acting strange, paranoid, said she was worried you were having a breakdown." My chest tightened. "And you believed her?" "I didn't not believe her. She's been a member of this congregation for 38 years, Merle. I've counseled her through miscarriages, through your father's death, through Trent leaving. She's never lied to me." "She is now." He poured 2 cups of coffee, pushed one across the desk to me. The smell was burnt, the way church basement coffee always is. "Show me proof." I pulled out my phone, showed him the bank statements, the withdrawal patterns, Lydia's text about the water rights. He studied each one, his weathered face unreadable. "This isn't conclusive," he said. "A good lawyer would say these are financial disagreements between spouses. The text from Lydia proves someone tried to cancel your permit, but not who." "It's her. She's co-owner." "Can you prove she signed the objection?" I couldn't. Not yet. Pastor Moss sighed. "Merle, I want to believe you. But I need more than suspicion. I need—" His phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned. "It's Diane." He looked at me. "Do you want me to answer?" "Go ahead." He put it on speaker. "Diane, it's late." Her voice came through, tearful and breathless. "Pastor, I'm sorry to call. I drove past the house and Merle's truck is gone and all the lights are on. I'm worried he's done something. I'm scared." Pastor Moss looked at me. I shook my head. "Diane, Merle's here. With me. He's fine." Silence on the other end. Then, "He's there? At this hour?" He needed to talk. "About what?" Her voice changed, went cautious. "What did he say?" "That's between him and me." Pastor Moss's voice was gentle but firm. "Go home, Diane. Get some rest. We'll sort this out in the light of day." "Pastor, he's not well. He needs help. Professional help. I've been trying to protect him, but he won't listen, and I'm afraid." "Diane." He cut her off. "I've known Merle since he was 10 years old. He's sitting across from me right now, calm and lucid, telling me things that concern me deeply. Now I'm not taking sides, but I'm not dismissing him either. Do you understand?" Another long silence. "I see." Her voice went cold. "I thought you were on my side." "I'm on God's side, and God's side is the truth, wherever that leads." She hung up. Pastor Moss set down his phone. "Well, that was interesting. She's going to tell everyone I'm crazy. Let her try." He stood up, walked to his window. "Sunday service? I'll be watching. I'll be listening. And if what you're saying is true, Merle, if this doctor and your wife are conspiring—" He turned to face me. "A man's word used to mean something. I'm sorry the world changed. But I haven't. You bring me proof, I'll stand with you." The church potluck was 2 days later, the Sunday before Christmas. I almost didn't go, but Huck said that would be worse. Hiding made you look guilty, so I went. The fellowship hall smelled like casseroles and burnt coffee, sounded like the low murmur of small-town conversation. When I walked in, the murmur stopped, just for a second, then started up again, quieter. I got a plate, filled it with ham and scalloped potatoes I couldn't taste, and found a table in the corner. Huck joined me. So did Lydia Fenn, which surprised me. She set down her plate and met my eyes. "People are talking," she said quietly. "Let them. They're saying you've been making accusations, that Diane's beside herself with worry." She pushed green beans around her plate. "They're saying Dr. Kemp is concerned about your mental state." "I bet he is." She glanced around, leaned closer. "I pulled the objection form on your water rights. Want to guess whose signature is on it?" "Diane's. And it's notarized by Dr. Kemp's receptionist." She pulled a folded paper from her purse, slid it across the table. "That's your copy. Might want to keep it somewhere safe." Across the room, Diane stood with Dr. Kemp and his wife. She was laughing at something he'd said, touching his arm. When she saw me looking, her smile faltered. Then a woman I didn't recognize approached my table. Older, maybe 70, with gray hair pulled back tight. She set down her coffee cup and looked at me with eyes that had seen hard things. "Mr. Garrison, I'm Julia Vickers. My husband Bill sold his farm to Dr. Kemp 3 years ago. He died 2 weeks after the sale." Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. "I'd like to talk to you about complications." Julia Vickers came to the farm on a Tuesday afternoon when the sky was the color of old nickels and the wind had teeth. She drove a Honda Civic with a rosary hanging from the rearview mirror and a bumper sticker that said, "Farm Widow." We sat at the kitchen table with coffee and the kind of silence that comes before hard truths. "Bill had a hernia repair," she said finally. "Simple procedure. Dr. Kemp did it, said it went fine. No complications. 2 weeks later, Bill had an infection, fever, chills. Kemp said it was normal, prescribed antibiotics. The infection got worse. Bill went septic, died 3 days later in the hospital." "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry yet." She pulled papers from her purse. "After Bill died, I found out our mortgage was 4 months behind. He'd never missed a payment in 30 years, and suddenly we were in foreclosure. I was so confused, so broken, I just wanted it over. Dr. Kemp's development company made me an offer. Quick sale, cash. I took it." She spread out the papers, medical records, death certificate, bank statements. "Then I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong, so I hired a lawyer, had him look at everything. Want to know what he found?" She pointed to a surgical report. Kemp documented complications during Bill's surgery, excessive bleeding, tissue damage. Except Bill never mentioned any of that. Never had unusual pain. The complications appeared in the records, but not in real life. My coffee had gone cold. He was building a paper trail. For when Bill died, yes. So it would look like surgical complications, not malpractice, not murder. She met my eyes. "My lawyer said we couldn't prove anything. Medical records are gospel. Bill was 73, had a weak heart. The infection could have been legitimate. We'd never win in court." "But you don't think it was legitimate?" "I think Dr. Kemp is very good at making death look natural." She pulled out another document. I did some digging, found 2 other widows, Tom Morrison's wife Ellen and Sarah Hendricks. Same story. Routine procedures, documented complications, sudden deaths, quick farm sales to Kemp Development. "They'll testify?" "Ellen will. Sarah's too scared." Julia folded her hands. "Mr. Garrison, if you're planning to fight this man, you need to know. He's careful, he's smart, and he's got money for lawyers who'll bury you in paperwork." "I don't have a choice." "You do. You could walk away, sell the farm, take what you can get, start over." I looked out the window at the south field, bare earth and stubble, waiting for spring, waiting for me to do what 3 generations of Garrisons had done: plant, tend, harvest, the rhythm that made sense when nothing else did. "This land's all I got," I said. "It's all I am." That's what Bill said, too. That night, Trent showed up unannounced. I heard his Lexus pull into the drive, saw his headlights sweep across the barn. He knocked once, then came in without waiting. "Dad." "Trent." He looked around the kitchen like he was cataloging evidence. The coffee cup in the sink, the stack of papers on the table, the old man living alone in a house too big for him. "Mom's worried sick," he said. She says you've been accusing her of stealing, that you think she's having an affair. Dad, do you know how crazy that sounds? It's not crazy if it's true. It's not true. It's paranoid delusion. Dr. Kemp's sleeping with your mother. Trent's face went red. Jesus Christ, Dad, listen to yourself. I found the text messages. What text messages? Show me. I couldn't. The burner phone had died and I hadn't charged it. Hadn't wanted Diane to know I'd found it. Stupid. Sloppy. I saw them, I said. Where's the phone now? She must have moved it. Trent sat down heavily, put his head in his hands. Dad, please. I'm begging you. See a doctor. Not Kemp, someone else. Get evaluated. Because right now, you sound like... Like what? Like Grandpa, at the end. When he started forgetting things, seeing things that weren't there. Trent looked up and his eyes were wet. I don't want that for you. I don't want to watch you disappear. My throat closed up. My father had died at 71, 3 years younger than I was now. The last year had been bad. Dementia, the doctors called it. He'd thought my mother was still alive. Kept setting a place for her at dinner. Thought it was 1960, time to plant corn. Forgot my name sometimes. I'm not disappearing, I said. Then prove it. Show me the phone. Show me the messages. Show me something other than your word against Mom's. I couldn't. He stood up. I'm taking Mom's side on this. Not because I don't love you, but because someone has to protect you from yourself. We're going to talk to a lawyer about getting you evaluated. About transferring financial decisions to someone competent. You mean taking the farm? I mean keeping you safe. He walked to the door, stopped. I brought Mason with me. He's in the car, 4 years old now, wanted him to see the farm, see his grandpa. But I can't bring him in here. Not with you like this. Through the window, I could see the shadow of a child in the back seat. Small head, probably clutching some toy or tablet. My grandson, who I'd never met. Who'd never see this place in spring, never learn the soil blessing, never know what it meant to finish what you started. Something broke in me then, not clean, like bone, messy like old wood that's been holding too much weight too long. Bring him in, I said. Please. Not today, maybe when you're better. He left. I stood at the window, watching his taillights disappear down the county road, carrying my grandson away from the only inheritance I had to give him. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe I should just let go. I almost gave up. That's the truth of it. 3 days after Trent left, I sat in the barn with my father's old Remington 870 across my lap, not planning anything specific, just holding it, feeling its weight, thinking about how easy it would be to stop fighting. That's when Huck found me. He didn't say anything, just took the shotgun, unloaded it, set it on the workbench. Then he pulled up an overturned bucket and sat down. Martha died in March, he said, 3 years ago. Spring planting time. I sat in my barn for 2 days with my deer rifle, having the same conversation you're having right now. What changed? My daughter showed up, said, "Yeah, Dad, you don't get to quit. Not before you teach my son how to bale hay," so I didn't. He looked at me. You got a grandson you never met? You really want him growing up thinking his grandpa was the crazy old man who lost everything? I am losing everything. Not yet, you're not. He pulled out his phone. Sheriff Marcus called me this morning. He's been looking into Kemp. Found something interesting in the medical examiner's records. He showed me a document. An internal memo, 3 years old, flagged for review, but never acted on. 3 suspicious deaths, all post-surgical, all Kemp's patients. The examiner had noted the pattern but been overruled by the county medical board. Why? I asked. Because Dr. Kemp's wife is on that board, and because the county prosecutor's sister works in Kemp's office. Huck's smile was grim. Small towns, everyone's connected. But Sheriff Marcus doesn't like doctors who think they're above the law. He's willing to ask questions. We just need to give him something solid enough to get a warrant. The burner phone, but Diane moved it, and so we make her bring it back. The trap was simple. Huck called Diane, told her I'd had a fall in the barn, hit my head, was confused and asking for her. Could she come check on me? She arrived within 30 minutes. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she came in, holding an ice pack to my head that didn't need one. Huck was in the barn, supposedly checking on the equipment. Really, he was watching through the window with his phone recording. Merle. Diane rushed over, put her hand on my shoulder. She smelled like that expensive perfume, and underneath it, fear. Are you okay? Huck said you fell. Yeah, can't remember exactly how. Everything's fuzzy. Let me see. She examined my head, her touch gentle. For just a second, she was the woman I'd married. The woman who'd stayed up all night when Trent had croup. The woman who'd held my hand at my father's funeral. Then she said, maybe we should call Dr. Kemp, have him check for concussion. And the spell broke. No doctors, I said. Just need to rest. Ooh. Merle, you could have a head injury. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking fine. I looked at her. Diane, I need to ask you something. And I need you to tell me the truth. She went very still. Okay. Are you having an affair? No. She said it without hesitation, looking right at me. Merle, I'm not. I swear, on Trent's life. Then why were you at Kemp's office after hours? Why is there $40,000 in an account I don't know about? Why did you try to cancel the water rights? Her face crumbled, started crying, real tears. Because I'm scared. I'm scared we're going to lose everything, and you won't see it. The farm is failing, Merle. We're drowning in debt. I took that money to save it, to make payments you weren't making because you forgot. I didn't forget. You did. You do. You're forgetting more and more, and you won't admit it, and I don't know what to do. She grabbed my hands. Dr. Kemp's been helping me, as a friend, advising me on how to handle the finances, how to talk to you about selling before we lose it all. That's it. That's all it is. She was good. I almost believed her. Show me your phone, I said. What? Your phone. Show me there's nothing there. She pulled out her iPhone, handed it over. I scrolled through her messages. Nothing suspicious. Text to Trent, to her sister, to church friends. Nothing to Kemp, because she'd been using the burner. See? She said. There's nothing. Merle, please, let me help you. Let Dr. Kemp help. We can get through this together. That's when Huck came in from the barn. Diane, he said. Sheriff Marcus would like to talk to you. She turned. Sheriff Marcus stood in the doorway, his deputy behind him. Big man, late 50s, with a face like weathered leather and eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Garrison, we have a warrant to search the premises. We're looking for a secondary phone, possibly a burner, that we believe contains evidence of fraud and conspiracy. Diane's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. We also have a warrant for Dr. Randall Kemp's arrest. He's being brought in right now for questioning regarding falsified medical records and suspicious deaths. Sheriff Marcus stepped inside. You want to tell me where that phone is? Cooperation goes a long way. She looked at me, then at Huck, then back at the sheriff. I want a lawyer. That's your right. Sheriff Marcus nodded to his deputy. Ms. Torres, you can come in now. The nurse from Kemp's office stepped through the door. She looked terrified but determined. Mrs. Garrison, she said quietly, I'm sorry, but I can't stay silent anymore. Dr. Kemp told me to give you that envelope. He told me what was in it. A falsified medical report showing your husband had surgical complications. He said it was insurance in case Mr. Garrison didn't die naturally. I documented everything. I recorded conversations. I'm testifying. Diane swayed, grabbed the counter for support. There's also the matter of the two other widows willing to testify, Sheriff Marcus said. Julia Vickers and Ellen Morrison. Both of their husbands died under suspicious circumstances after selling their farms to Kemp Development. He pulled out handcuffs. Diane Garrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent. It was his idea, she screamed it. All of it. Randall planned everything. He said we could be together, have money, start over. I just wanted out. I wanted out of this prison. She gestured at the kitchen, at the farm, at me. At 40 years of her life, she'd decided was a waste. Sheriff Marcus finished reading her rights while his deputy cuffed her. She was crying now, makeup running, looking small and broken, and nothing like the woman I'd loved. Merle, she said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I stood up, walked over to her, looked her in the eyes one last time. No, you're not, I said. You're just sorry you got caught. They let her out. Through the window, I watched them put her in the back of the patrol car. Watched them drive away, taillights disappearing down the same road Trent had taken my grandson down 3 days ago. Huck put his hand on my shoulder. You did it. You beat them. But standing there in my empty kitchen, listening to the wind rattle the windows, I didn't feel like I'd won anything at all. The trial took 4 months. I sat through every day of it, watching lawyers turn my life into evidence. Exhibit A, the burner phone, recovered from Diane's sister's house in Omaha. Exhibit B, bank records showing the systematic theft. Exhibit C, falsified medical documents with Kemp's signature. They found more. Once Sheriff Marcus started digging, it all came apart like wet newspaper. Kemp had been running the scheme for 8 years. 15 farms acquired through conspiracy, fraud, and in 3 cases, they proved 3 cases, medical murder. Bill Vickers, Tom Morrison, and a man named Carl Hendricks who I'd known from the co-op. The prosecutor was a woman named Sarah Chin, barely 40 but sharp as a new blade. She laid it out clean. Kemp would identify elderly farmers with valuable land. He'd offer medical services, build trust. Then he'd perform unnecessary procedures and document fake complications. If the farmer didn't die naturally within a reasonable time frame, Kemp would help that along. Infections, wrong medications, nothing obvious, just enough to tip an old body over the edge. Meanwhile, he'd identify vulnerabilities. A wife who felt trapped, a spouse drowning in medical debt, someone he could recruit, manipulate, promise a better life. Diane had been perfect, resentful, lonely, desperate for escape. She took a plea deal. Testified against Kemp in exchange for a reduced sentence, 5 years instead of 20. Eligible for parole in 3, I watched her on the witness stand, telling our story like it happened to someone else. Yes, she'd withdrawn the money. Yes, she'd blocked the water rights renewal. Yes, she'd agreed to the conspiracy because Randall promised her $200,000 and a fresh start in Arizona. "Did you love your husband?" the prosecutor asked. Diane looked at me for the first time in weeks. "I don't know, maybe once. But 40 years on that farm, it killed something in me. I just wanted to feel alive again." Kemp got 25 years. Medical license revoked permanently, assets seized, including all 15 farms he'd acquired through fraud. The properties would be sold, money distributed to victims' families, including mine. Spring came while the trial dragged on. March snow gave way to April rain, and the rain gave way to May sunshine that made the fields glow green. I hired help to do the planting, 2 college kids from the AG program who worked cheap and didn't ask questions about the old man who supervised from his truck. The water rights permit came through. Lydia had expedited it personally, called me the day it arrived. "Your land's safe, Merle. You can irrigate." "Thank you." Thank Julia Vickers. She's the one who pushed the sheriff. She's the one who gave that nurse the courage to come forward. A pause. "You gave her justice for Bill. That matters." Maybe it did. Some days I could believe it. Trent called in late April. I almost didn't answer. "Dad, I saw the verdict. Mom called me from—" His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you." "You believed your mother. That's natural." "I called you crazy. I threatened to have you declared incompetent. Dad, I—" "Stop." I looked out at the south field, where winter wheat was coming up in straight green rows. "You protected your mother. That's what a son does. Can't fault you for that." "She tried to kill you. She tried to let me die. There's a difference." I rubbed my eyes, tired, so damn tired. "Trent, I don't blame you, but I need time. Can you give me that?" Yeah, of course." He cleared his throat. "Mason asks about you, the farm. I've been showing him pictures. He wants to know why dirt is important." Something in my chest loosened. "You could bring him up, teach him yourself." "I don't remember how." "It comes back, like riding a bike." Silence on the other end. Then, "Memorial Day weekend, if that's okay, just for a day. I'll be here." They came on a Saturday morning when the sky was blue enough to hurt. Trent drove his Lexus slow on the gravel drive, like he was remembering every pothole from childhood. Mason burst out of the back seat before the car even stopped, all 4 years of him, wearing tiny boots and a John Deere cap. "Grandpa, you got cows?" "Used to, just wheat now." "Can I see?" I looked at Trent. He nodded. We walked the fields, the 3 of us. I showed Mason how to check the soil moisture, how to tell good growth from weak. Trent followed behind, quiet, taking it in. "Why do you have to check it?" Mason asked. "Because the land tells you what it needs, you just have to listen." "Does it talk?" "In its own way." We ended up in the south field, where my father used to do the blessing. I knelt down, pulled a handful of soil, rubbed it between my palms. It was warm, alive, full of new roots working their way down. "What are you doing?" Mason watched, fascinated. "Old family tradition. My father taught me. His father taught him." "What's it for?" To remember, we don't own this land, we just take care of it till the next person. Mason knelt beside me, grabbed his own handful of dirt, rubbed it between his small palms, copying me. Like this? My throat went tight. Just like that. Trent crouched down too, picked up soil with hands that had gone soft from years behind a desk. For a long moment, the three of us knelt there in that field, dirt on our hands, sun on our backs. "Dad," Trent said quietly, "I quit my job, gave notice last week." I looked at him. Figured maybe, if you'd have me, I could come back, help run the place, teach Mason what you taught me. He met my eyes. Before I forget it all. I wanted to say yes immediately. Wanted to grab him, tell him I'd been waiting 40 years for him to come home. But that wasn't how we did things in this family, so I just nodded. Could use the help. Planting's done, but harvest comes quick. I remember. It'll be hard work, long days, no corporate salary. I know. He smiled, tired but real. But Mason should grow up knowing where food comes from, knowing what it means to finish what you start. Mason jumped up, dirt flying from his hands. "I'm going to live on a farm. Can I drive the tractor?" "When you're bigger," I said. "For now, you can ride with Grandpa." We walked back to the house. Trent carried Mason on his shoulders, pointing out the barn, the machine shed, the cottonwood windbreak his great-grandfather planted in 1955. The boy asked 1,000 questions, and Trent answered what he could, looked to me for what he couldn't. At the porch, I pulled out my father's pocket watch. The one he'd carried through Korea, the one I'd carried through Vietnam, silver case worn smooth by 3 generations of hands. "This was your great-grandfather's," I said, holding it out to Mason. "Someday it'll be yours, but you have to promise to take care of it and to pass it on when it's time." Mason took it with both hands, reverent as a church offering. "I promise." "Good man." That night, after they'd gone, I sat on the porch, watching the sunset over the south field. The wheat was ankle-high now, green and strong, drinking up the spring rain. In a few months, it would be golden, ready for harvest. The rhythm I'd known my whole life, the rhythm that would continue after I was gone. I heard them then, my father's voice from 40 years ago. "Land doesn't lie, son. People do, but land tells the truth if you listen." And my grandfather's voice from before I was born, passed down through stories. "A garrison finishes what he starts." I'd finished. Despite everything, I'd finished. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of fresh earth and growing things. In the distance, a red-winged blackbird called from the fence posts, spring announcing itself, life continuing. I'd lost my wife, lost 40 years of what I'd thought was love. Lost the illusion that trust was simple and promises were kept. But I'd saved the land, and in saving it, I'd saved something else, the thread that connected grandfather to son to grandson. The knowledge that some things were worth fighting for, that dignity wasn't given, it was earned by refusing to quit when quitting was easy. I pulled out my phone, took a picture of the sunset over my field, sent it to Trent with 2 words, "Welcome home." His response came 30 seconds later. "Thank you for everything." I sat there till full dark, listening to the night sounds, crickets, distant cows, the wind through the cottonwoods, the sounds my grandfather heard, the sounds my grandson would hear. Some things change, some things don't. The land remains. They ask me sometimes, the folks at church or the coffee shop in town, if I forgive her, Diane, if I've found peace with what she did. I tell them I don't know. Forgiveness is for saints and preachers. I'm just a farmer trying to get through to harvest. The truth is more complicated. There are mornings I wake up and reach for her side of the bed, forgetting. There are nights I hear a car in the drive and think it's her coming home from town. 38 years don't disappear just because you want them to. But then I walk outside and smell the earth warming under the June sun, and I remember what matters. The wheat is waist high now, golden green and thick, a good crop, maybe the best in 5 years. Trent says the futures market looks strong. We might actually turn a profit. He moved back 2 weeks ago, him and Mason and his wife Kelly, who I'm still getting to know. They're in the old hired hands cottage behind the barn, fixing it up room by room. Mason runs through the fields like Trent used to, all questions and energy and dirt on his face. Yesterday the boy asked me, "Grandpa, why did Grandma leave?" Trent started to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "Because she wanted different things than I did," I told him. "Sometimes people want different things and they can't find a way to meet in the middle. That's sad, but it's true." "Do you miss her?" I thought about that. I miss who I thought she was, but that person maybe never existed. So what am I really missing? He considered this with the seriousness only a 4-year-old can manage. Then, can we go check the wheat? Yeah, we can do that. We walked the rows together, Mason between Trent and me, his small hand in mine. The red-winged blackbirds sang from the fence posts. The wind moved through the wheat like water, making it shimmer and bend. Above us, the sky went on forever, blue and clean and indifferent to human failures. My father used to say, "A man's legacy isn't what he builds, it's what he leaves behind that keeps growing." I didn't understand that when I was young, thought he meant buildings, bank accounts, things you could measure and weigh. But standing in that field with my son and grandson, watching them learn the land the way I learned it, the way my father learned it, I finally got it. Legacy is teaching a boy why dirt matters. It's showing him that some things are worth fighting for, worth holding on to, worth passing down, even when the world says to let go. Diane's in a minimum security facility in Lincoln. She writes sometimes. I don't write back. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday the anger will fade enough that I can see her as just a woman who made terrible choices, not the enemy who tried to erase me. But not today. Today I have wheat to tend, and a grandson to teach, and a son who came home. Today, the land is enough. Tomorrow, I'll plant again.